Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Shalom. This lesson, just Lord willing, is quick and to the point. Just a brief thing I saw about some wasps in South Carolina, that they were radioactive. You're not going to find, you're going to see news articles about it, but you're not going to find much information about the actual wasp, about the species, about the nest, how many they found. They only say they found one nest, and they're not really giving out any kind of details about it. But hey, we got the scriptures, and the scriptures give us all we need to know. So I'm going to start here. This is Joel chapter 2. This is I'm just going to get straight to the point. This is Joel chapter 2 and verse 3, and this is describing, I'm going to start at verse 2. This is describing the ICBMs, the thermonuclear destruction that's coming to Babylon the Great, aka America. And Joel chapter 2 and verse 2, a day of darkness and of gloominess. Matter of fact, I might start with verse 1. Joel chapter 2 and verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai cometh, for it is nigh at hand. So this is it. What you see, particularly with the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, and on down, what we're teaching to tell our people to turn back, to tell them to repent, because this day is coming. The destruction is coming, and we're warning our people to turn back, to repent, to turn to their power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to turn to Yahushai. This is the only way, the only being that can save you. So with that, we're blowing the trumpet. We're giving the warning out. So verse 2, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, there have not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So this day is coming. This is a very dark, it's going to be a very dark, gloomy day. This is going to be bad. Even the nation's gonna see afar off this whore country, this whore Babylon being destroyed, and they're gonna be crying because they're not gonna be able to make any more money. This is the cash cow. But describing the ICBMs, this is what they've been created for this judgment, the judgment that come upon Babylon the Great. This is a very heavy judgment that's going to be on this land, and they're not made to sit in a museum. They're made for the moment coming. They're made for the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. So the missiles, the ICBMs, those warheads, when they drop, right now, even though this devil has polluted all the lands, the land is like the Garden of Eden right now. But after the destruction, this is gonna be a desolate wilderness. Nothing is gonna grow here. There's gonna be nothing here other than desert creatures. So here, let me see here. I'm gonna jump. We'll keep reading. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Verse 5, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains they shall leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. So speaking of this is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's army. This is a part of his army. And when they're coming, it's going to look like how in the ancient world, when you see the movies and whatnot, or when you see movies about the ancient world, you see the armies, the opposing armies lining up, some on horseback, some on foot, and you see them charging toward each other. So you see this the ICBMs in comparison to that, like an army lining up in battle array. Verse 6, before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war. They shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path, and they shall fall upon the sword, and they shall not be wounded. Meaning, the ICBMs, these are going to hit their targets. Nothing is going to stop them. Verse 9, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run up upon the wall. They shall climb upon the 12 houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. They're going to be going through everything. Ain't nothing going to stop this. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So that the thick clouds that this is going to produce, the mushroom clouds. So, and this is going to be so many missiles going off, and when they hit, it's going to make the earth shake. It's going to make the earth reel to and fro like a drunkard. So I'm going to go to Isaiah 34, and I'm going to start at and I'm going to jump around on this one. I'm going to read one verse here. Isaiah 34 and verse 4, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fig from the fig tree. So this is describing the mushroom clouds, describing the how this is going to drop. It's going to drop like a fig. How the warhead is going to drop, and the mushroom cloud destruction. When you see you've been seeing a lot of volcanoes erupting lately. It looks similar to that. Those kind of clouds, those plumes of clouds that just go straight into the air. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Speaking of the trajectory of the ICBMs. The ICBMs, they go up into the heavens, they make an arcing formation, and then come back down on the target. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. Edom is, referencing to Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And this is the land that he's currently in right now. It's not speaking about the actual land where Petra is today. And upon the people of my curse the judgment. This is upon Esau Edom, the border of wickedness. This is a destruction they got coming to them. So I'm going to jump down the verse 9. All right, let me see. All right. Verse 9, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. So it's going to be, ever burned like tar or seen it burn, that stuff burns for a very long time. And this destruction is going to change everything. This place is going to be burning for a long, matter of fact, I'll just keep reading. Verse 10, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. So again, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. So these two, Joel 2 and this, Isaiah 34, are describing the same thing. The destruction that's coming to Babylon the Great. And they give different details. This is giving the details of how it's going to be. This place is going to be turned into a wasteland. It's going to be turned into burning pitch. It's going to burn for a very long time. Verse 11, but the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it. The owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. So, desert creatures are going to live here. Birds, unclean birds, all kinds of animals. I think there's even another one where it mentions like the types of wolves. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but this place is gonna be only unclean. Nobody's gonna live here. And I'm gonna jump down. Verse. Oh well, actually, I'll just keep reading. Verse 12. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls. So this place ain't nobody gonna live here. Nobody's gonna dwell here. Nobody's gonna be here. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow, and the screech owl shall rest there and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. So just unclean animals here. And this is what kind of sparked it. I said radioactive wasps, and this is in the news, making its rounds in the news this week, even though it happened, a couple of weeks back, or it was discovered a couple of weeks back. So it says radioactive wasps were found at nuclear facility in U.S. and it's in. They want you to click that article, but it's in South Carolina. So that's it for this. I'm just gonna go to ChatGPT now, and we're gonna see. We're just gonna read this. It says, I asked ChatGPT, just the details, like what happened. It says there was a radioactive wasp, or there were radioactive wasps found in South Carolina at an abandoned nuclear facility. I thought it was abandoned, but apparently it's not. So this month, Slovakia. What details do you know about this? Here's what is currently known about the radioactive wasp discovery in South Carolina. So what happened? On July 3rd, 2025, workers at the Savannah River site at the Department of Energy Nuclear Reservation near Aiken, South Carolina, found a wasp nest on a stanchion close to one of the F area tank farms where liquid nuclear waste is stored. So they found this is a nuclear facility, and the destruction that's going to happen is thermonuclear. So it's going to be everything is going to be irradiated. Nothing is going to be able to live here except those unclean creatures. Like if you look at even this thread that I asked ChatGPT about mentions Chernobyl. So only those unclean creatures, even though the precepts I brought up don't mention wasps, but they're still a part of that. So when radiation sensors probed the nest, it registered roughly 10 times higher radiation than federal limits allowed. So this is the wasp nest is 10 times higher than it's very radioactive. So just giving the idea, even though the destruction has not happened yet, given the idea that these animals, they can survive in this kind of radiation. They can survive in this environment. We cannot. They can live in this. And they can thrive in it. You see what's building a nest. They already built a nest, meaning there's multiple wasps that build a nest. They don't say how big it was. They don't give any other kind of details, but it's big enough for these people to see it and spot it, and contain it. Because a lot of different wasp nests, they go unnoticed, especially, you around here in Texas, they really go unnoticed. You might walk into one on accident, you walking through some woods or, around your house or whatever like that. You just walked into a wasp nest. How it was handled, the nest was immediately treated by spraying insecticide to kill the wasp. And then showing you, hey, how fucking poisonous is Esau. Here it is, these wasps live around like nuclear radiation and shit like that. But Esau's shit kills the wasps. They round shit that but anyway, Salaki, you're just gonna keep. The nest was immediately sprayed or treated by. The nest was immediately treated by spraying insecticide to kill the wasp. then safely removed and bagged as a radiological waste. The surface check confirms that the soil and surrounding areas show no sign of contamination. They just bullshitting. So I'm not really interested, in the safety concerns, all this kind of stuff. They're not telling you all the details. They're not telling you everything. They ain't really telling you, it's just that they found a radioactive wasp nest and they're not giving you anything else. So that's just me asking the questions because but anyway, I'm just going to keep going. I asked it, have there been instances of radioactive animals being in other places? What makes them a concern? So this is the part that, sparked the lesson. It says, yes, there have been multiple instances of radioactive animals found near contaminated or nuclear sites around the world. These animals are concerning not just because of the radiation levels they carry, but because they can spread contamination, affect ecosystems, and pose risks to humans through contact, food chains, and migration. So this is where it started. The bells started ringing because it's like when the scriptures come to mind, Isaiah 34, that this place is going to be desert creatures and it's going to be a perpetual waste. And how's that going to happen? Through these animals, not just through the through the nuclear destruction, but these animals that are going to dwell here are going to keep that going. It says notable examples of radioactive animals. It says Chernobyl, the wolves, fish, bears, and dogs after the 1986 disaster. That's not that long ago. What is it? I'm 37. This is 39 years ago. This is 2 years before I was born. Wildlife remained, even thrived in the Chernobyl exclusion zone. So while Chernobyl, that if you read about that, learn about it, watch videos about it, I think they had a series on it on one of them HBO or Stars, whatever. This place is still around. There's still stuff that grows there. They even have what they call an elephant's foot. I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's radioactive fungus. But the animals, what it's saying, it thrives there. But people can't live there. People can't even go there, I think, more than a few hours or something like that. So some animals like wild boars still show elevated cesium-137 levels decades later, especially because they eat contaminated mushrooms. So they eat the food there. They eat all that food. They get contaminated from being in the environment, and then they go and let me see it. They go and spread it by them being contaminated and then moving around and pooping and eating all this stuff and being in the area. So they're constantly spreading it. So wolves and dogs have also been studied for mutations and changes in the immune system. Concern, animals accumulate radiation and spread it by moving, excreting, or dying in new areas. Some are studied for long-term genetic damage. It says Fukushima, the wild boars and fish, and people still go there. People still eat the food around there, and they get in. After 2011 nuclear meltdown, and that's 14 years ago. After the 2011 nuclear meltdown, wild boars returned in large numbers to evacuated towns and tested positive for high radiation levels. Fish near Fukushima coast have repeatedly been found with elevated radiation, even years later. Concern, the contaminated fish raises fears about oceanic food chains and exported seafood safety. So you don't know what you eating, when it comes to the fish, because you better not be eating no boar. The Hanford site, Washington, USA, rabbits and rats. At this former plutonium site, radioactive rabbit droppings were discovered in 2009 and 2010 due to animals drinking from contaminated water or eating plants near waste. Contaminated animals spread hotspots of radiation far from original leak sites. It says concerned, even tiny creatures like rabbits can transport radioactive particles through waste and movement. So the Savannah River site, South Carolina, alligators and catfish. So the SRS has hosted studies on contaminated reptiles and fish for years. Elevated radiation levels have been found in bottom-feeding fish and amphibians near old waste ponds. Yeah. So this is Esau Edom. Hey, he's that Smith that was created to destroy. He's that Smith. Yahweh Shemiah Shai gave Esau Edom the knowledge, the technology to bring this stuff about, and look at what he's doing with it. Look at what he's done. But as a precursor, as something that's happening before, you're seeing animals can live and thrive in this radiation, even though it destroys us humans. But you see the animals also, like they thrive in this. They spread it. They spread this contamination. This is what's coming after the destruction. The animals are just going to live here. They're going to thrive in this environment. It's not going to affect them. And they're going to keep it, due to them to be in these contaminated areas, they're going to keep this area contaminated. Contaminations, why radioactive animals are concerned. Contamination spread, animals roam, excrete, or die in clean zones moving radiation. The food chain exposure, predators including humans may ingest radioactive tissue. Environmental monitoring, animal health can indicate ongoing contamination or failures. Public health risk, hunters, anglers, or hikers may come into contact with contaminated animals. The genetic mutation, long-term effects of radiation on DNA and reproduction can be observed. Difficulty in control. Animals are hard to track or contain, especially in forests or open lands. So, the key insight, animals don't just suffer from radiation, they're mobile carriers of it. That makes them unpredictable vectors for spreading contamination, especially in areas assumed to be secure or decontaminated. Wild species that dig, eat roots, or drink surface water like rabbits, wild boars, or wasps are particularly likely to come into contact with radioactive residues buried or pooled underground. Salakia. So I asked it, so if an area becomes contaminated, the animals can further spread contamination and keep the area contaminated. Yes, absolutely. Once an area becomes contaminated with radioactive material, animals can play a major role in spreading and sustaining that contamination, often in subtle but significant ways. So how animals spread radioactive contamination, physical movement of material. Animals like rabbits, rodents, and birds can pick up radioactive dust or soil on their fur, feathers, or feet. They track it into burrows, nests, water sources, and clean areas, effectively relocating contamination. Biological concentration, bioaccumulation, and biomagnification. Animals ingest radioactive materials from plants, soil, or water, concentrating it in their organs, bones, and excrement. Carnivores or scavengers that eat these animals can then accumulate even more radiation, a process called biomagnification. So they can it's a feedback loop, and they can become more and more irradiated. It's beautiful. It says excretion, radioactive urine, and feces have been directly responsible for spreading radiation at sites like Hanford and Chernobyl. Droppings contaminate soil and can reintroduce radiation into surface water, or air. Nesting and burrowing, insects like wasps, ants, and animals like moles or badgers can dig into buried waste or bring contaminated materials to the surface. Their activity can even break protective barriers like caps over waste pits. Migration and range expansion. Birds, bats, and large mammals can carry contamination to distant areas, especially if they're not confined by fences or borders. So if there ain't gonna be one building standing. So there ain't gonna be, they're gonna be regulated to this land, which is gonna be completely unrecognizable. But this is where they're gonna be. Nothing gonna stop them from contaminating, keeping this place perpetually contaminated. So it says, so yes, it's a feedback loop. Contaminated environment, contaminated animal spread to clean areas. Environment stays contaminated or worsens. In heavily polluted sites, this process can make full cleanup extremely difficult because animals ignore man-made boundaries. Radioactive particles are tiny and easily spread. Even long after a leak is sealed, contaminated wildlife can keep reintroducing radiation into supposedly clean zones. So it gives examples. That's all I'm gonna read from that. I just, I posted the scripture that I read, and I'm gonna go down, and I'm just really gonna focus on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start up here. This is you know what? I'll go ahead and read it. It says, you're quoting from Isaiah 34, a deeply prophetic chapter that vividly describes the judgment of the nations, particularly Edom, and serves as a broader warning to all nations aligned against the Most High and his people. Well, that's beautiful. The Israelites. Who is that? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and wherever else we've been scattered to. Amongst all the people looking like the people. Let's break down the meaning and symbolism in the verses you listed, especially in light of prophetic destruction, desolation, and what we discussed about contaminated environments and corrupted wildlife. So Isaiah 34 and verse 4, celestial judgment. And it says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. It says the host of heaven refers both to heavenly bodies, the sun, moon, stars, and possibly spiritual powers. It's referring to the armies, Esau, Edom's armies. He's in his heaven right now. This is him. Rolled together as a scroll echoes Revelation 6 and 14, suggests cosmic upheaval, symbolizing complete collapse of the current world order. But it's describing the mushroom cloud. That's what it's describing. It says falling fig, says leaf, a picture of sudden, irreversible fall, especially of kingdoms and powers. So it's going to be a sudden fall. It says spiritual insight. This points to a cataclysmic collapse of earthly and heavenly powers, either literal, cosmic, or symbolic world systems falling into judgment. So this is Esau, Edom. This is a worldly power being destroyed. Isaiah 34, verse 9 through 11, a land turned into hell. It don't say that. But yeah, I guess this is going to be hell, a hellish condition. This place is going to be completely dead. Only the unclean creatures can dwell here. It says, the streams turn into pitch, dust into brimstone, burning pitch, smoke shall go up forever. This is a picture of nuclear or divine fire-based destruction. A place so ruined is likened to eternal burning. Nuclear destruction. And it's divine. It's a nuclear, and it's worse, it's a divine destruction, and it's through the nuclear fire. The language mirrors the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and Revelation 14, 10, and 11, where the judgment fire is unquenchable. Gone. Line of confusion and stones of emptiness, deep Hebrew symbolism for formlessness and void compared to, it's not going to be, there's not going to be anything here. You're not going to recognize anything here. Coast to coast, you're not going to recognize any landmarks. There's not going to be anything left. It says interpretation, a once inhabited land becomes uninhabitable forever, a radioactive wasteland, spiritually or literally, like what happened in Chernobyl or a nuclear blast zone where nothing returns to normal. Verse 14 through 15, inhabitants of desolation. It's going into the wild beasts. These are symbolic creatures of waste, death, and unclean spirits. Nah, that's actually, all these are referring to actual animals. Like talking about goat demon, all that. This is referring to actual animals that are going to live here. So it says the Satyr, The screech owl is sometimes translated as a Lilith. No, it's actually talking about the owl. Vultures, owls, cormorants, bitterns, scavenging, and nocturnal creatures symbolizing uncleanness and judgment. The reading, these aren't just animals, they symbolize unclean spirits, death, isolation, and spiritual isolation. Prophetic parallel to today. Prophetic parallel today. The imagery of Isaiah 34 lines up closely with what we see in judged lands, areas laid waste by warfare, radioactive containment, contamination, Salakia, or divine judgment, abandoned, cursed, and overrun by unclean beasts. Think about the radioactive wasps, Chernobyl wolves, or how deserts and fallout zones become homes for scavengers and nocturnal animals, creatures that thrive where humans can't. This also ties to Revelation 18:2, where Babylon becomes the habitation of devils and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Gone. And these scriptures all link together. They're talking about the same event. So Isaiah 34, it goes into the summary. That's all right. But, you know what? Let me see if I asked anything else. I mean, that's pretty much it. I think the point has been brought out. This place is going to be the land where unclean creatures dwell and thrive, after the destruction of Babylon the Great. And hey, that's it. Like these wasps, the things that you see, that's just a little sign of what's to come. And Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Hakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Shalom.